Us on this Monday edition of the show. We got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes. We'll be joined by Sam Yarnell, my friend, my confidant, will join us to talk some NFL. Also hang out with us when we talk to Bill Bender about some college football. He, of course, with the sporting news, does a great job on all things football. Joins us every Monday on the show. We've got some odds and ends, and Phoenix Suns playing good basketball. History-making day in the NFL to talk about as well with Myles Garrett. But we start things out on this Monday edition of the show, as we always do, with the big story. And the big story today is obviously the NFL coming off the end of the regular season and a Week 18 banger between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens, these arch rivals that met up in Sunday Night Football to finish the season in a battle for the NFC North to see who winds up, or AFC North, I should say, battle to see who wins that division. And it would be Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin and TJ Watt, Cameron Hayward, and this Steelers team that winds up getting the win in the most dramatic of ways. And look, I mean, this is what makes the NFL the greatest drama on television. You know, the best unscripted drama you're going to get is the NFL, because that game last night was everything you could ever ask for. For all the things we complain about in the NFL and the duds, you know, that we sometimes get in primetime because of the unpredictable nature of sports. Sometimes a game that we hype up and build up and we think is going to be great winds up being a dud. It's one game. You just never know what's going to happen. Last night delivered in every way imaginable. You have Aaron Rodgers potentially playing in his last game. Even Adam Thielen, who's on this team with the Steelers, was playing potentially in his final game. You had two head coaches going head-to-head where the losing coach could have potentially been out of a job after this season, and that still remains to be seen when it comes to John Harbaugh. But instead, what you wound up with was a fourth quarter filled with fireworks. Hope he took the over. And the Steelers finding a way, despite Chris Boswell missing an extra point, which was the other big drama in all of this. Boswell, who never misses extra points, misses an extra point. And then you're set up for Tyler Loop, 45 yards to win the game, for this Baltimore Ravens team. The kicker who replaces Justin Tucker after they part ways with him in the offseason after all the allegations and controversy that has surrounded him in the latter stages of his career. And Tyler Loop just basically shanks it. And it wasn't even close. I mean, Boswell's missed by that much on the extra point. But I have to go back to this, and I wrote about it on X last night. And you can see my handle there if you want to go and look at it for yourself. The fact that you had John Harbaugh with timeouts in his pocket and 12 seconds left, settling for that field goal, settling for a 44-yard field goal when he could have gotten closer in a stadium that is notoriously difficult to kick in, that you had him basically play this game and say, we're good with 44 yards. Today's NFL kickers can make them from, 68 yards. We're just gonna kick it from 44 when he could have gotten 5 yards more, easily 5 yards more. You had a timeout. You could have run it. You could have thrown it. There were a lot of options still at John Harbaugh's fingertips, and he opted to just waste the clock. Let another 9 seconds run off the clock and then call the timeout. What are you saving the timeout for? Made no sense to me. So there is some culpability for John Harbaugh. And now the Steelers go to the playoffs, and you get Aaron Rodgers in a playoff setting for the first time in a few years, which is going to be fun to watch. They're going to have DK Metcalf back, which obviously makes them more of a threat in the offensive game. And they still figured out ways to score points in the fourth quarter last night after really not being able to do much for the first few quarters of this football game. And when you've got Aaron Rodgers, sitting there on your side of the field, you certainly have to feel like if you are Mike Tomlin, you have a chance. One last thing on Tomlin. For those that were hoping that the Steelers would lose so that Tomlin would lose his job, for those Steeler fans that were hopeful, maybe the organization was going to get ready to move on from Mike Tomlin. The one thing last night ensured was he will be there until he wants to leave. He'll be there until he dies if he wants to. It'll be his last coaching job if he wants to. Because that organization is already one that doesn't want to move off of head coaches. Go and look. They had, 3 head coaches in the last 50 years. That organization's never moving on from Mike Tomlin. They will never be able to quit each other. That is point number 1. Black Monday across the NFL. I am appropriately dressed today in my black sweatshirt because it is Black Monday around the league, and coaches are losing their jobs. Will John Harbaugh lose his? That still remains to be seen. Whether or not the organization makes a decision to move on from him. What we do know is Raheem Morris has already lost his job. That happened on Sunday night. The Falcons didn't even wait back-to-back 8 and 9 seasons enough to doom Raheem Morris. I don't know if it's fair. I know there are some people that are going to cry foul and say, how is, Zach Taylor keeping his job with the Bengals with that organization struggling the way it has? But Raheem Morris is out after 2 8 and 9 seasons. They basically finished in a tie for the NFC South, and he lost his job. The loss against the Panthers is the one that still sticks out to me, though. They lost that game, I don't know, maybe 5-6 weeks ago. They win that game. They're in the playoffs right now. They're the NFC South winners. And I think the decision to go with Michael Penix, you've seen this team is demonstrably better with Kirk Cousins as the starting quarterback. There's no getting around that fact. No matter what you think of Kirk Cousins, his ability to win in the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. They were demonstrably better with Kirk Cousins. Kevin Stefanski is also out of a job today. The Browns parting ways with him after back-to-back last-place finishes in the AFC North. He will be a commodity. I wouldn't be shocked if he's a head coach somewhere next year. And again, there are people that whose heads are going to explode. Raheem Morris is fired. He'll probably be a defensive coordinator somewhere next year. But Kevin Stefanski, who had back-to-back last-place finishes with the Browns, is going to be a head coach somewhere next year? How does that happen? I don't make the rules. We've got more NFL to get to. We'll continue the conversation on the Ravens and Steelers. Sam Yarnell joins us next. Welcome back to this Monday edition of the show. Lots of football today. NFL, and then Bill Bender coming up a little later on to talk about the college football playoff quarterfinals and the transfer portal. Let's jump right into it with my man, Sam Yarnell. Feels like I haven't seen you forever. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Unless you're Kevin Stefanski and Raheem Morris, and then it's not a Happy New Year. Real quick, because I want to get into these games, your reaction to the news of Morris and Stefanski being let go.
Yeah, objectively a bad decision to fire Kevin Stefanski. There's a reason he's going to be one of the most highly touted coaches in this coaching cycle, as just about every single reporter has already openly said, because every organization is foaming at the mouth to hire Kevin Stefanski. You're talking about a guy who's won Coach of the Year twice during his NFL tenure. Just a Browns decision from the Browns organization, as expected, right when they have a good draft class and it feels like they're starting to turn things around. They throw up all over themselves and they're keeping their GM. Colossal disaster. In Atlanta, Raheem Morris, I get it. I understand it from an Atlanta organizational perspective. You've been let down at a point where you finally felt like your franchise was built up to compete, and Raheem Morris has done nothing but middle for 2 years as your head coach. At the same time, right, it's a huge gamble that the Falcons are taking here, because now you do still have a very talented team, but you have a team that was constructed under somebody specifically, and you're entrusting somebody else to come in and make that team competitive. A couple of head scratchers, and Jason, I know by the time that people are watching this, I'm sure there'll be more coaches that are fired that probably make a lot more sense. Yeah,
Fontenot also let go in Atlanta, the GM, so somebody's going to have to come in there, do, I don't want to say a teardown, but certainly sort of a retooling around whatever it is they want, and whether or not Kirk Cousins is part of that is also a big question. Wow, what a way to finish the regular season last night, Sam, with the Ravens and Steelers. A finish to remember, a fourth quarter to remember, and it's just amazing, as I said in the big story, You know, the Ravens, who start the season with heartache and end it in heartache on a Sunday night. I gave my thoughts in the big story. What say you on the Ravens' collapse in the fourth quarter and Tyler Loop missing this field goal that would have sent them to the postseason?
Yeah, we'll get into the game in just a second, but I wanted to lead with credit to Tyler Loop. It is incredible. He was put in an incredibly hard position. A lot of people saying a lot of things that should never be said about anybody everywhere about the kid. And he goes into the locker room and has, what felt like a half-hour long press conference in front of his locker and takes full accountability. When you look for a franchise kicker, that's the kind of guy you look for. And Tyler Loop handled that situation about as perfectly as any athlete could, especially in the NFL, Jason. In terms of the game, I was surprised that Mike Tomlin stepped up. I'm not going to lie. In the current iteration that we've seen of Mike Tomlin, with Steelers fans seemingly calling for his job for the last 6 weeks, you sure didn't think he was going to be able to, strap it up and make that defense make stops when he needed to. And he did. I mean, at the end of the day, when they built this comeback, the Pittsburgh Steelers, their defense was the real deal. The Watt interception, right? They wreaked havoc on that Baltimore team, and that was kind of Baltimore's downfall all year. You mentioned the first game of the season. What was the problem against the Bills? What led the Bills to that entire comeback? They played backyard football. It's a little bit of what the Steelers did defensively yesterday, and it worked.
And look, as much as and I know you in particular like to say he's done, Aaron Rodgers made some big throws in that fourth quarter to lead that team and put them in a position where then Chris Boswell misses the extra point, which is mind-blowing. And the shock in Mike Tirico's voice was it was epic. Great calls by him the entire night. And then the miss by Loop to wrap things up. So the Steelers are going to the playoffs. The Ravens are going home. We'll see what happens vis-a-vis John Harbaugh and his status with the season coming to an end. There's a lot of talk. I don't know if that's one that will happen today. If it does happen, I think there's going to be a lot more conversation that has to take place.
Might not be, Jason, but I'll tell you one that I'm pretty confident in. Think we saw Lamar Jackson's last snap in a Baltimore Ravens uniform last night.
Really?
You heard all the wind over these last 2 weeks about, first you had the Baltimore Sun story and the internal, conflict that Lamar has caused allegedly within the Ravens building. Then this past week, right, you had the whole thing come out. Lamar has always wanted to play for the Dolphins, and, he's always speculated about being traded to the Dolphins and what it would like to be a starter in his hometown. And then his press conferences after the game last night made it absolutely no better. I'm as good as convinced that Lamar Jackson's days as a Baltimore Raven are officially behind him after that game.
The Buccaneers missed the playoffs despite getting a win on Saturday against the Carolina Panthers because Atlanta took care of business and beat the Saints on Sunday. What to make of this Buccaneers season that ends in disappointment with them not making the playoffs, in sort of that mid-division, where 8-9 wins you the division if you're the Carolina Panthers, who are not going to win anything in these playoffs, by the way. As much as it's a nice story that they're back in, they're not winning anything. Your thoughts on the Buccaneers missing out on the postseason and what it means for that franchise going forward, which has shown it can make the playoffs. Now it's shown it can miss them with this group. I don't know how you continue in this current form when you kind of know what the ceiling is for this group.
I think that this of all of the recent history of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the season that you could most brush off as kind of a one-off. Like, so many unique circumstances happened to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season for them to end up where they ended up. Not even to mention the fact that their starting quarterback played the last 6 weeks of the season with a practically broken shoulder. They just got so unlucky. Not San Francisco 49ers levels of unlucky this season, but the Buccaneers got so unlucky in terms of personnel management and injuries, and when things all came to pass, the Igbuka situation where he looked like the best receiver on God's green earth for the first 4 weeks of the season and then essentially was dormant the rest. There were so many one-offs that felt like they didn't make sense with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season, so I'm comfortable giving them a pass into next year.
Well, it'll be, I mean, look, even if you gave them a pass on this year, you still have to start to realize, is there a ceiling here? with this group? And have they reached that ceiling? And if that's the case, how do you break through that ceiling? What has to change in the offseason still remains to be a question. Real quick.
Yeah, no. And again, I think it's just, this team is constructed with the Hall of Fame level of talent that it has. I think they'll be back and better than ever next season.
All right. We've got more to do from the NFL. Do we finally have our team to beat? Seattle? We're talking about you. We'll talk about it next. Bill Bender joins us 10 minutes from now. We'll get into it with him on all things college football with the sporting news. Joins us every Monday on the show. But Sam Yarnell, some more to get to from the NFL. Do we finally have our team to beat? Seahawks took care of business against the 49ers on Saturday. Cemented their spot as the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. They are your favorite to win the Super Bowl over on FanDuel right now at plus 420. The Rams at plus 440. The Broncos at plus 650. The Eagles at 850. And then the Patriots and Bills at 10-1. So, after watching the Seahawks this weekend, Sam Yarnell, are you ready to crown them yet?
First of all, just got to address this. Objectively hilarious that regardless of my answer, I'll tell you what the sportsbook's answer is, and that it's no, considering that the Seahawks, who have to play one less game, are 20 cents shorter than the Los Angeles Rams to win the Super Bowl. The Seahawks have a bye, and they are a 20-cent favorite over the next team. That is ridiculous. That is colossal. That is the book telling you that there is not a chance that the Seahawks are the team to beat in the NFC. Now, my personal beliefs, I don't know if I agree with the sports books in this case. I'll tell you this right now. And I know, my thought process when trying to analyze what the thought process of the odds maker was, is that you look at the Seahawks team, you can say, listen, they lost to the 49ers in a game where the defense showed up and Sam Darnold still kind of choked. They lost to the Rams in a game where the defense showed up and Sam Darnold still kind of choked. It seems like the motif of Sam Darnold choking, which we knew was one coming into this season, right, may still be there in the back of the minds, certainly of the odds makers. Listen, I don't know what else you need to see other than this Week 18 game where it showed you that this defense can be just about any team in the NFL right now. I don't know. I think the NFC is pretty wide open, Jason. But if you had to pick a team to beat, right, I think I'd probably take the Seahawks right now. And
I'll also say this. There is no better. And I know I'm saying this out loud. I don't think there's a better home field in the NFC. I don't know if there's a bigger home field advantage than what Seattle's going to bring to the table. If you really sit and think about it, I mean that's home field on steroids with the 12th man and all that stuff. So I look, I've picked the Rams from the start of the season. I'm going down with the ship. I still think the Rams are my team. But we've seen what happened when those two teams met up in Seattle. I just don't think the Niners can get. I don't think the Niners. I still think from a defensive standpoint, they actually played pretty well defensively in that game against the Seahawks on Saturday. I just still don't think. I don't even know if the 49ers will make it to them. Right. I really don't.
Right. That's the thing, right? The 49ers, and this is how unfortunate losing that Week 18 game is.
It is.
The 49ers go from being the 1 seed to now having the hardest path to the Super Bowl of maybe any team in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They'd have to beat the Eagles, then the winner of Bears-Packers, then whoever's left of the Rams, Seahawks, and Panthers, just to be the NFC champions. Like, that is a gauntlet of gauntlets for the Niners to run through.
What does it say to you that so many teams were willing to cede playoff positioning at the risk, or I should say risk playoff positioning, all for the benefit of resting guys? What did it say to you?
What it said to me, it's what I told you on this show last week, and it's something I know the NFL will never do, but it's the simple fact of the matter of what needs to happen in the state of the National Football League. They got to shorten the schedule. You cannot have this 18-game long schedule. Or this 18-week long schedule, excuse me. They're never going to. I don't disagree with you in that regard. However, what it says to me is the schedule is too long. When you've got all these teams essentially just waving the towel going on Wednesday of week 18, right? Not even, before the game kicks off. Right on Wednesday, we're saying Tanner McKee's going to start this game for the Philadelphia Eagles against the Washington Commanders, right? It's patently ridiculous. I understand the cash grab. I understand the rich have this weird infatuation with continually getting richer all the time, and that's why we're here. But the fact of the matter is the 17-game schedule has made the NFL product objectively worse.
Can I get a couple things in here real quick, which are also related to Black Monday? I am doing away with my Giants helmet. Doing away with it. The season's over. They stink. They're keeping Joe Shane. I'm doing away with the Giants helmet. Thank you to Light Helmets for that. Getting rid of that. That goes to the floor. I'm replacing it with a basketball. We're putting up more designer basketballs. Okay? Got that for Christmas. Thank you very much. The Giants are keeping Joe Shane. The Giants are keeping Joe Shane as their general manager, despite getting rid of the head coach and looking for a new head coach to coach Jackson Dart. So we're done. We're done with the Giants now. The helmet goes away since their season is over. So the Giants are keeping Shane. He's going to be in charge of the coaching search. Which doesn't give me a lot of confidence in a Giants team that 2 weeks ago, no, take that back, 10 days ago had the top pick in the NFL draft and now is the 5th pick in the NFL draft because they decided to grow a conscience and win 2 games. I don't understand. I don't understand what is happening here.
You're going to be so mad at me in a minute. You're going to be really mad. You're going to be upset.
Go ahead. You're going to
be upset.
Okay.
Jason and I have this exercise that we like to do on the program. Very shortly after a team season ends, we'll look ahead to the next year's Super Bowl. Yeah. And I got out ahead of this over the weekend. I was thinking to myself, Jason's going to ask me in a couple of weeks, and I got to be ready. I got to think, what team was bad this year? Because if I'm betting on the Super Bowl in February or March, it's always on a bad team. It's always on long odds that I know are going to get shorter, right? What team has odds that are almost definitely going to get shorter by the time we get to the start of the season? Let alone what team could compete for a division that's been wide open for the last 20 years and has only had 2 repeat winners? It's the New York Giants. I'm going all in. I am going to be Mr. New York Giant next year. I think they could come out of the NFC next year, Jason. Sure, we can get rid of Brian Daboll. He can go do whatever he wants. Joe Shane is a leader of men. Joe Shane knows how to put a roster together, and that's exactly what he's done in Big Blue right now. You've got a franchise quarterback in Jackson Dart, a franchise running back in Cam Scatterbo, a franchise wide receiver 1 in Malik Neighbors, and oh, by the way, one of the best front sevens in the entire NFL. I'll take all of that Giant stock that you're selling. I'm just going to buy it right up right now.
I'm not even sure Jackson Dart is the answer at quarterback right now. That's the lack of confidence I have in this organization. Now let's go beat the Raiders and beat the Cowboys.
Don't mind me. I'm just raking in my Giant stock over here.
Zach Taylor remains the head coach of the Bengals, too. That on the coaching front. Bill Bender's next. Welcome back inside our SportsWrap studios in Las Vegas on this Black Monday around the NFL. It was Black Monday every week of the college football season. There were coaches being fired every week, it felt like. So not so much looking for those. Bill Bender's here. Sporting News joins us. Bill, you still have your job, right? Because everybody's losing theirs today.
Black Monday. Come on now. Hey, there are still coaches that we don't know whether or not they're going to coach in the next playoff game as assistant coaches. That's what college football is. NFL's got nothing on that.
That's very true, and we will get to that. Let's talk about the games. Thank you for joining me on the weekend show. We talked about it there, but obviously different audiences with the weekday and weekend show. Now that you've had a chance to sort of bask in the glow of the CFP quarterfinals, what sticks out to you?
Indiana, number 1. And they were the one team that you can't use the rest first rust argument. I got to get that out. But the way that they beat Alabama, it wasn't that they beat Alabama. They dominated Alabama, much like they would dominate a Michigan State or a UCLA, not a tough game like Penn State or Oregon. So I think that stood out the most to me. Obviously, Trinidad Chambliss was the other story, beating Georgia and then Miami. And I just keep going back and watching some of that game. Miami was hitting. They kept a 22-year receipt against Ohio State, and they cashed it at the Cotton Bowl, and they were playing like it. They wanted it more. You're like, is it simple? Is it as simple as that?
Felt like it. I was stunned at the inability of Ohio State to really get anything going in that game. Is it a one? If they play 5 times, does Ohio State win 3 of them?
Probably. I mean, I know Caden Curry said something afterward like we would win 9 out of 10,
yes,
but it's 1. And I do think the layoff argument is real. You know, I've talked to a couple athletes about it, and you know, when you don't play football for 25 days as a college athlete, it is different than when you don't play for 2 weeks as an NFL athlete. It just is. And every team, even Indiana, that showed. Look at the slow starts for these teams coming off the double bye or whatever you want to call it. It was a lot. So, you know, if you're Ole Miss and you have a game under your belt, or Oregon, game under your belt, I feel like, Jason, over the weekend, we didn't talk about Oregon at all.
Nope.
Oregon was dominant against Texas Tech. Texas Tech's offense looked very ordinary.
Yeah, but we knew that. We knew Morton wasn't necessarily built for this moment. I mean, was that really that shocking?
I think the shocking part to me was that they dominated the first half with offensively, and Texas Tech's defense hung in there. You know, but the Texas Tech offense could not get anything on. That's a Big 12 offense. You know, Arizona State got it going a little bit against Texas last year. It was very different.
Sam, go ahead.
Bill, what did the Rose Bowl do for your perception of Ty Simpson? I know this is a guy we talked about as potentially a first-round quarterback. He looked awful in the game. How do you look at him heading towards April's draft?
Yeah, you know, I think it's one of those deals where we'll see. You know, their offense was very ordinary. And I think a lot of it was they couldn't run the football. Ty Simpson's a guy. He has some escapability. There's no question. Decision-making was really good. I mean, he was a Sporting News midseason All-American. That's how well he played the first half of the season. But I think just the stress of not having a running game, I think he's just okay. I think this is a bunch of just okay in this quarterback class as it pertains to the NFL. You know, this is a year where if you're number one, maybe you go get a Reuben Bain. Or maybe you go get, you know, a Caleb Downs, somebody like that, instead of taking a chance on a quarterback. Other than Mendoza's starting to grow on me a little bit, you know, as a potential first-round pick. The rest of the guys, I don't know.
Bill Bender of the Sporting News, by the way, hanging out with us. I don't know if I said that at the top. Does a great job on all things football. Bill, Miami and Ole Miss. You know, when you look at the way these two teams match up, and obviously what's going on with Ole Miss and the coaching staff, and who the hell is going to be on the sidelines coaching these kids, when we get to Thursday, what's kind of coming to you right now?
Well, I mean, who's going to be on the field, and can Trinidad do it again? I mean, he's the X Factor player.
Amazing.
I mean, brilliant against Georgia, absolutely brilliant, and you know, when you look at the most impactful players in this round, either NFL, college, whatever, you start with quarterback. Trinidad Chambliss carried them to a victory. I don't care who's on the sideline. I can't predict how that will work out. Having guys going back and forth, I understand they're trying to do 2 jobs. It's very difficult. I can predict that Ole Miss is playing with a chip ever since Lane Kiffin left, and the players in that locker room are, and it revolves around Trinidad. He's playing fantastic.
Bill, speaking of Trinidad Chambliss, reports Monday morning that he's petitioned the NCAA for another year of eligibility, and reports saying that Ole Miss has already agreed to him on terms should he be granted that waiver of eligibility. When you look at this Ole Miss team, and I know their season's not over, so it's a little hard to do right now, but when you look at this Ole Miss team going into next year under Pete Golding, is the outlook, is the mantra the same? Is this a program that could still compete for a national championship next season?
I mean, the foundation is there. You know, the players are there. Trinidad, you know, I think we've talked about him on this show. Jason, Sam, I would take him first among the quarterbacks in the NFL draft this year.
Yes.
Am I wrong?
Yes. Highest upside. Highest upside
I'd
to
go
me.
second, but yeah, I'm with you.
I'm not reaching then because I
No.
think he's got he makes some incredible NFL throws. So if they get him back and then some players, obviously they come and go. Their defense has been talented over the years. They can get some receivers for him to throw to. Kewan Lacey's been great. I think Ole Miss has enough talent to stick around in that race. Yes, that's what Lane Kiffin helped build. Some of that was being the portal king and all that. But if you have Trinidad Chambliss, guys are going to want to play with him.
Bill Bender hanging out with us from the Sporting News, does a terrific job on college football. He also writes about the NFL, hanging out with us for one more segment. The transfer portal is up and running, and players are already going all over the place. We'll get into that with him as we continue on this Monday edition of Sports Wrap. Let's keep the conversation moving on this Monday edition of Sports Wrap with Bill Bender. The Sporting News does a great job on all things college football. Writes about the NFL as well. But we've had him on every Monday this season to talk about college football, and we are grateful for his contributions. All right, so the transfer portal opens up. Players are moving everywhere. I can't even keep track of where everybody is going. What is the one that sticks out to you?
Sorsby, right? They're reportedly going to Texas Tech. Really good quarterback, a lot of money. Like when we're talking about like the money, I guess I've just got to ignore. But if we're talking about the quarterback and the fit, he'll do well there. I think Josh Hoover at Indiana. I mean, if you trust what Cignetti's been able to do with Mendoza and Rourke the last 2 years, it seems like Hoover, who there were spots when I watched him over the last 2 years that I was super impressed, and there's been some inconsistency, but I think he'll fit in that offense. Those are the two so far. As of now, like Raiola hasn't committed anywhere yet. I don't think he's the one I'm most interested in because of the 5-star talent, because of the just the ability that I think he has, but it just depends on the landing spot.
Sam, you have something to say?
And because I think, Bill, maybe you, like me, and a lot of us thought he was probably going to Texas Tech because of that one guy that he really likes to emulate. Anyway, Bill, I wanted to talk a theme that I've noticed throughout this transfer portal, right? You have Rocco Becht going to join Matt Campbell at Penn State. You have Bo Pribula re-entering the transfer portal, right? Allegedly deciding between Virginia Tech and I can't remember the school in Georgia, but maybe Georgia Tech. Potentially reuniting with his old head coach, James Franklin. My question to you, Bill, is do you think that this is something as, the coaching carousel continues to spin as rapidly as it has the past couple of years, and this new NIL transfer portal era, is this something we're going to see very frequently when a coach leaves? If they have a half-decent quarterback, they're automatically going with them?
Well, I think, yeah, in some ways. Rocco Becht, he had Big Ten quarterback written all over him. Matt Campbell left, whether it was going to be Michigan State or Penn State. Mestamaker following Oklahoma, Eric Morris from North Texas to Oklahoma State. I think he'll do well. That's one where you make that jump, you're going to do well. This is part of that where you kind of get that tells me they have a good relationship, number one, and then they're going to follow their coach to the next place. I mean, you saw that with Cam Ward on some level when he went from Incarnate Word to Washington State. Now he went to Miami from there, but last time I talked to Eric Morris about him, he was so complimentary. I think that's one of the things that you'll see as we go along.
How about Billy Edwards going to North Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple other quarterbacks I thought lined up to North Carolina, but Billy Edwards is a guy that's got good size and maybe can fit in that offense. I mean, Belichick, the quarterback play wasn't good enough. No. Let's just leave it at that this year, and they need to find somebody to run that offense. Billy had his moments between Maryland and Wisconsin. He might be able to fit there.
Bill, when we look, I know we mentioned Raiola a little bit earlier, but when we look at, kind of how the transfer portal is shaped up, the quarterbacks that are in it, Mestamaker, Raiola, Sorsby, Rocco Becht, Bo Pribula, right? What does that tell you? What is the type of quarterback that schools are going out and getting in the transfer portal every year tell you about, kind of the evolution of college football and where it is right now?
It doesn't matter if you get a 5 or 4 star quarterback now. in the recruiting process. I mean, that's my biggest takeaway. It used to be an event when you landed a 5-star guy, whether it was, recent years, obviously, Arch. I think Quinn Ewers really changed the entire game, though. When he went to Ohio State for a year, transfers to Texas, and all of the things that happened there. And I think the hit rate of recruiting a 5-star and maintaining that 5-star has gone down dramatically than it would have, say, from 2009 to 2014. I could probably look the numbers up on that. I'm always fascinated. That's why, though, I latch on to guys like Raiola. And even like Jackson Arnold, wherever has he landed somewhere yet? If he finds a home, you don't give up guys like that, because at some point they were billed a 5-star quarterback, and you don't want to call him a bust. Lagway was close to that. He's another guy that'll be watching when he goes to his next spot.
Yeah, to me, what also sticks out is the urgency, because it's not like free agency in other sports where you've got time. It feels like a lot of these guys move quick. Decisions happen quickly. Guys don't sit back, it feels like, here.
Not at all. And, in the NFL, I always make the analogy. It would be like if the NFL free agency opened today. It'd be wild if you had like Christian Watson opting out of a wild card game to go play for the, Lions or something. By the way, the Lions didn't make the playoffs, by the way, just letting everybody know. But you get what I'm saying. It is wild. It's some people, it's a turnoff. To me, you kind of grow accustomed to it. I mean, this is the way the game's going to be played now. You can build a roster. I still think it's got to be equal parts recruiting, portal, and then development, getting guys to the next level. That's the best way to sell your program. Are you sending guys to the NFL?
But
Sam, real quick.
Is that sustainable, Bill? Is that something that college football as a sport can sustain for another 50 years?
No. But, how long we can, we'll see. I don't think so. I think the financial system will obviously need worked on over the next couple of years. But the game itself, we can't argue. I mean, look at the TV ratings. We're still talking about it. The playoff, it feels a little bit like March Madness now. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and Jackson Arnold still doesn't have a home, by the way. I'm sure he'll have one, but he doesn't have a home yet. Bill Bender, always appreciate you, my man. Hey, any NFL things that surprised you from the weekend?
Not really. I mean, the Steelers-Ravens game was fabulous.
Wasn't it?
The end of that game was amazing, and I cannot believe old man Aaron. A very small part of me as a Packers fan, is happy that Aaron Rodgers is in the playoffs.
Yeah. I listen, you know what? It's always going to be better with Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs, getting another opportunity, and then I'll have DK Metcalf back for the playoffs. Always appreciate you, Bill Bender. Be well, my friend. We'll talk to you down the line.
Hey, thank you.
We're coming back. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Monday. Tomorrow, full reaction to NFL Black Monday. We'll have weekend leftovers. There's more to get to from the NFL. We'll do that. Get you set up for the playoff games, some early previews, all sorts of goodness. Couple of reminders before we go. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. It's available on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to the audio-only version of this show Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. It's 45 minutes long. It's great while driving to work, on the treadmill, taking a shower, laying in bed, whatever it may be. You can enjoy us in all of our audio splendor. Also, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is the place for all things Sports Wrap. The Monday through Friday TV version of the show is available there. If you missed our year in review show, the Sports Wrap 2025 year in review show, that's available on our YouTube channel. It's everything basically on demand for Sports Wrap. In addition to that, we have the Sports Wrap with Jason Page Sports Wrap Shorts. So these are Sports Wrap Shorts. They're 1 to 3 minutes long, usually only about a minute long. They're recapping the top stories in sports. They're also recapping the big games every day, every night. We've got Black Monday stuff on there. Coaches get fired. We're going live, or I should say going on to Sports Wrap Shorts and putting those there, available on our YouTube channel, Sports Wrap Shorts. Also available on our TikTok, SportsWrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram, the same name, SportsWrap Jason Page. And without any further delay on this Monday edition of the show, Sam Yarnell, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, congratulations, the end of a, 25-year record in some regards, and then TJ Watt did it most recently. 22 and a half sacks falls by the wayside because Myles Garrett gets sack number 23 in the final game of the season, in the final quarter of the season. One of the most prolific pass rushers of this or any generation, Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns. Congratulations on 23 sacks. Yes, he got it in an extra game, and I know some people are going to talk about that. They're also going to talk about the fact that sacks weren't a statistic back in the days of Deacon Jones and some of the great pass rushers of the day. But congratulations nonetheless to Myles Garrett, Sam Yarnell.
So I think it's so funny that people immediately started perpetuating the narrative of, it's an 18-week season and he's got an extra game. Well, what we've also got in this wonderful 18-week season is the beauty of analytics. So let me help you with some. Michael Strahan, who only played a 16-game season and had 22 and a half sacks, played 567 defensive pass rush snaps. TJ Watt, who tied Michael Strahan's record just a few years ago, had 616 pass rush snaps. Myles Garrett this season, who had more sacks than both of them, had 437 pass rush snaps. So yeah, maybe he did have an extra game, but he had almost 100 fewer opportunities than even Michael Strahan, who played in a 16-game season. Mark Gastineau, you've been irrelevant for 20 years. I'm not even going to address your bit of the record. So, again, Myles Garrett, far and away, the most impressive bearer of this record. In my mind, it's not even particularly close. Myles Garrett may be the best defensive lineman football's ever seen.
It'll be interesting to see if he is there next year, because there are some people that wonder if he may ask out of Cleveland, considering the propensity for losing in that city and within that franchise. Odds and ends, excuse me. How about, I almost got choked up. The Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns are 21-14 through 35 games this year. I don't know what their record was through 35 games last year. Did they even win 21 games all year? Because it sure as hell didn't feel like it. This team has been one of the real surprises, I think, through the first almost half of this NBA season, Sam Yarnell. They beat the Thunder last night. Dylan Brooks with a big shot late. The development of Dylan Brooks has been fascinating to watch, by the way. Turning into much more of an all-around player than just a defensive pest. He had a big shot last night, and then Devin Booker hits the game winner with less than a second remaining. And so much for all that talk about, the Thunder being the best team in the history of the NBA. They've hit the skids here a little bit.
Yeah, no kidding. The Dylan Brooks thing is fascinating because it's almost like he realized, all right, I can't just be a troll and make millions of dollars in the NBA. I've actually got to round out my game a little bit. And it seems like he has. The Suns won 36 games last year, so they've already eclipsed the halfway mark, and we're not even at the All-Star break yet. Good for you, Phoenix. All of that said, this is still a franchise that is reeling from how many years of mistakes, how many years of getting to the playoffs, getting to the Western Conference semis, and Chris Paul hits a three to cut the lead to 42 points. Why do you gotta be
Debbie Downer today? They got a great win last night.
They did. No, they did. Because, Jason, here's the thing about the NBA, right? And you even kind of touched on it. And I know, right? As much as we can talk about the Thunder losing a few regular season games here or there, the NBA feels more inevitable than even Major League Baseball did this past season.
I don't think so. The only thing I think of as inevitable is Spurs Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. And then all bets are off there, because I wouldn't be shocked if the Spurs wound up winning that series. Spurs got to get there first. They seem to lose to everybody except the Oklahoma City Thunder. But we're out of time. We'll talk about that on Wednesday with Kurt Heelan. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Bill Bender. Thanks to you, Sam Yarnell. Also, thanks to all of you at home for watching. Full recap of all the Black Monday news and everything else tomorrow. See ya. Hi there. I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got SportsWrap shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half of as they're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.